Hey, First Draft Club, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about a lesson I recently learned from my kid about how to think about creation and art in the broad sense. Like many people, I'm sure, I feel like my kid is often teaching me things, and this was one of those instances. Here's what happened. Welcome to the First Draft Club, a podcast to help you write your book with joy, clarity, and maybe a few coffee stains. I'm Mary Atkins. My friend Heather and I have started an annual tradition of attending this traveling art festival called the Other Art Fair when it comes to Dallas. This is the Other Art Fair is a traveling fair that goes to several cities across the world. So you can check it out if you're interested. It's pretty great. It features original works of art by up and coming artists. And so it's a good way to find original work at good prices while, supporting working artists. It's also just fun to walk around and to look at contemporary art, even if you don't buy anything. It's a very happy, art loving vibe, and I always look forward to it. Well, this year, when the fair arrived, we decided to bring our kids. Both of them are 7. And so we weren't sure how it would go. At that age, you never know what is going to be declared unbearably boring, but we decided to give it a shot. It turned out the children were almost too into it. They loved everything. They wanted everything. Actually, not everything. Let's be more precise. The uglier the piece, the more desperate they were to own it. Like this, please, can we get this weird wooden frame draped in leopard print flannel for $268? Like, it's my favorite thing I've ever seen. I wound up telling Finn the rules were that we had to make it through the entire room before we decided to buy any one thing, that if we both loved something, we could spend my money, but that if only he loved something, he had to spend his money. So long story short, about an hour in, he stumbled on this delicate ceramic bird, about the size of my hand, and the begging commenced. It cost $59, which was very close to the amount that was in his piggy bank back home from, birthday, tooth fairy, whatnot. But he needed that bird. He loved that bird. He said he would spend all his money on that bird. And yes, he knew this meant he would have no money left, and he still wanted it. This is where the story starts to get a little sticky, because I found myself almost saying, you realize that's as much as a Mario game costs, right? And then stopping myself, because was I really going to try to talk my kid out of buying art in favor of buying a video game? Strange, right? Interesting impulse. So we had to finish walking the room. We did not buy the bird yet. In the end, he had coveted the bird for about 2 hours before I finally followed him back to the artist's booth and let him buy it. It was very sweet. She told him that he was her youngest collector and wrapped it for him. And in the car on the way home, he was really happy, chatting in the backseat about how it was fine now that he had $0 because he had the bird for his collection. And then he said, I can't wait to paint it when I get home. What? Oh, I said, like, you're going to paint it? Yeah, don't you think it'll be more beautiful? He said. And I said, sure, because it was his bird. And later that afternoon, the bird got a refresh. I will include a photo in case you're curious of the bird's makeover. Now, a few days later, with the freshly painted bird safely tucked away in his treasure chest, which is a wooden box we got from Michael's and decorated with markers, he was practicing piano. He had a recital coming up, and he was working on the song that he was going to perform in recital. I'm listening to him practice, and I heard him play a few bars of the song that I didn't recognize because they weren't in it. And so I asked him about it. Like, what's that? He said, oh, I added that section. Okay. I told him, cool, you might want to run this by Brent, that's his piano teacher, first. but there's probably not going to be an opportunity before recital because we didn't have a lesson between that day and recital. And so like, I don't know, he could maybe just play the piece as is. And he was like, no, I'm going to play the new section in recital. Brent will like it. And this moment brought to mind one of my favorite episodes of a TV show I love. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where the gang is putting on a musical and this character Dee announces mid-performance that she's just going to sing a song she's decided to add. She's written it on the spot, just going to perform it on the fly. And then she does it. This episode is truly a classic if you want to laugh your face off for 30 minutes. So I told Finn he could add the section to his piece. Now, I realized that, the fact that I was pretty unabashedly, without reservation, supportive of both of these decisions on my kid's part makes me a bit of a meme of a millennial parent. Is it that I don't want to be the kind of parent who enforces rules for the sake of rules? Yeah, kind of. I also don't actually care if he wants to deface someone else's art that he has purchased in order to make it his own, right? Like that's half of what all of art history is. Banksy did it to his own work. But I think it goes beyond that. He is displaying an artistic confidence that I would love to have a smidge of, or a bucket load, to be honest. He's not going to possess this kind of childlike confidence in his creativity forever. But for now he does, and it's beautiful. It's the opposite of having to run an idea by somebody before you integrate it into your work. It's the opposite of writing by committee or affirmation seeking. It's pure trust in a vision, an unadulterated view of one's taste in art without the burdens of social norms and expectations. I spent a lot of time trying to help writers trust their visions over other people's. And this behavior from my kid that I described today is kind of the platonic ideal of that. So sure, he can add a riff to his, piano recital song, and he can scribble all over his first purchase of original art because clearly he sees art as an ongoing conversation. And isn't that the best possible way to see it? How do I get some of that back? And finally, and I think this is probably the most powerful idea that I'm taking from these recent experiences with him, we don't need to feel like we have to run everything by somebody. I know I said this a moment ago, but I just want to reiterate it. We get so used to checking in with someone before we make a creative decision, especially if we're taking, the workshop model classes where things wind up being written by committee. But you're allowed to just make a call. It's your work. This can be so hard to do. But the fact that I find it really moving to see my kid doing this tells me it's something that I could probably do more of myself. I hope this was helpful. That's all for today. I will see you in the next episode where I'm going to introduce something brand new that I'm very excited about, a new typology for novelists. So I will see you then.